Hey everybody, welcome to my favorite shitty movie. I'm excited about tonight's show. We're talking about The Purge election year, a movie that it came out in 2016. Like at the time, this movie was too on the nose. And it remains on the nose, which is crazy. And some of its after sequels also do. I'm a big fan of the Purge franchise. So we look at this in the realm of a shitty movie, as this is. By the way, I have a little bit of a head cold, so I apologize if I'm nasally. I apologize. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm just, under the weather. I made Hillary do all the heavy lifting in the reenactment. So rest assured, I'm getting as much rest as possible. But I'm a huge fan of the Purge franchise. The Purge election year, I think like took it to a new level. It like for a franchise to have sequels that get better as they progress is pretty rare. And even to have sequels that are somewhat equal to the original is pretty rare. I think the Purge sequels best the original every time, to different degrees, but I think they're all better than the first one with Ethan Hawke, which was basically just a dystopian future home invasion movie, which was very enjoyable, and it played on certain class elements, and everybody within the original Purge sort of got a comeuppance, whether they were trying to purge or not. If they were icky people, they got a comeuppance, and I enjoy that in horror movies. But the first one I thought was like, yeah, it was all right. But then the sequel, which had multiple storylines all converging, when like the Purge gets really nuts, and then this one is just actually, I think, makes a lot of sense, societally. I feel like it's trying to say something, which, not a lot of horror movies do. And I like that this one does. Whether it, succeeds or not is up to the viewer. And a lot of people dismiss these movies, of course, as, torture porn garbage, which is why it's here on Shitty Movie. But before I keep yapping about the Purge franchise, which I could do this by myself for 4 hours, but that would be awful. So I'm going to bring on my guest co-host, because Tracy, of course, is on her honeymoon. She can't do the show, but she'll be back next week for our 200th episode. Oh my God. But tonight I have one of our favorites. She keeps everybody in line. She's a great producer. She knows what she's doing. She loves the Purge election year, as our guest Crixley does. So I'm very glad to have her to support me in my favorite shitty movie Purge episode ever. Dana Karen, everybody.
Hi, everybody. And
Hey,
I do so ever love, I actually love all the Purges and everything they bring. And I rewatched it this week, and it's even more on the nose. It is almost like Elon Musk watched the speeches in this movie, and we're just like, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I got it. Okay. That's the language.
But he was looking at the speeches of the bad guys.
Yes. Yeah. No, he didn't know who to root for. And he
I
must have
think
been very sad when people lost faces and things like that.
That's a good point, and you make me realize one of the things that actually scares me about these movies, because there's these movies have it's that underlying creep factor. It's not necessarily about jump scares,
Yeah.
It's like a tone thing, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where it just you like walk away with a creepy feeling. And part of what gives me that creepy feeling is when people watch this, I'm wondering what side they're on. Because I honestly think that you can take people who are purging in the Purge movies and make that your avatar. That's your thing, so that's what's exciting to you. So that creeps me out about it more than anything.
I mean, to their credit, they took a fairly outlandish idea And each time each of these films, which take a totally different perspective of Purge nights, and I think do everything to make it as real as possible, and it rings as true as you possibly can. And then
Yeah.
through, you're like, "Yeah, I'd kill that person." Just do it.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
sort of the
they run
well,
over
and I
like 3 teenagers, and I was like, "Fuck yeah." I'm like, "Oh god,
yeah.
something's
Yeah.
wrong
Well,
with
it's
me."
not just the dichotomy of who's, fantasizing about the bad side of this, but it's also that you yourself, because there's so much comeuppance in these movies that you yourself can be like, yeah, the bad guys are good on this side of the thing, you know. So the issues are certainly gray. I also like the first Purge, which is the next Purge movie after the Purge election year. For
Mhm.
me, when I experienced it the first time, I thought it was so interesting because it felt like history. It felt like I was watching a movie about something that happened way in the past.
Yeah, I
And
think I missed it.
oh, you missed it? Okay. Well,
I
it's worth checking
just
out. Um,
Yeah,
if you
I'm on
missed
it.
it. But that's how it felt to me. And I thought that was a like I don't know if it was on purpose, but it seemed like a very creepy element of that particular version. I like you say, like you like all the Purge movies that you've seen. I've seen all of them, and I like them all. So that's my first Purge.
You win. I won. And
So,
in honor of Our Lady Tracy,
oh
tonight
yeah,
I am drinking the sake she gave me for Christmas. To share with you.
oh, happy belated Christmas and happy honeymoon, Tracy. I hope you're having a good
Oh,
time.
will do.
We're here doing a show.
I know, but if not for Tracy's wedding, you and I would never have met each other in
I,
person.
I know we met in a tiki bar in San Francisco
The
as a
best
result.
people do.
That's where you should meet in person for the first time in a tiki bar in San Francisco. Whoa.
Definitely helps you let down your guard immediately.
Yeah, it's yeah. You're not you're not gonna get swept up in any insecurities in a tiki bar. Christopher Dahan says the news lately has been scarier than the movie.
I hear
Yeah, yeah, I'm here to support you on that. I agree. But that's also what I like about these movies is they're on point. I mean, the Forever Purge, you know, like it's January 6th on a national level. That's what it was. It's so on the nose, it's ridiculous. I love the Forever Purge. Anyway, let's bring on our guest. Crixley is back once again. We love her. And she loves this movie, and we're going to talk about it.
Yay!
Hey, what's up, Crix?
Corrected my neck. What's going on?
Not much. Very excited. Okay, just so you can defend yourself because Dana loves this movie. I love this movie, and other people might think this is a good movie. Why do you classify it as shitty? Is it on some level the way I was suggesting, or is it something else?
Well, I call it a shitty movie just because the story is just fucking horrendous to me, and it's like, especially now what we're dealing with, and the way that the director writers went about these first three movies, I think was very smart and wanted people to go past this, because what they did was the first movie was looking at it from a rich people side.
Mhm.
And the second part was the sequel. The first sequel was from the poor people's side. That's why it looks so fucking hilarious. Like, not hilarious, but just like it's chaos everywhere because it's just Kill Poor People Day. And then the third one goes into the politics round of it, and especially what we're looking at now with canceled insurance, deportations, what happens at the very end of this movie, which actually did happen, and it's that's why it's just like it's shit, and it should stay on the screen and should not actually happen. And it makes me wonder if like that was his favorite movie after he got elected the first
No.
time, Yeah, because he's like, look, we could do all this. And I'm sure, like, I wouldn't put it past any stupid Republican to look at a movie and go, we should try this. And that's what scares me.
So do you think
Yeah.
that like the Purge franchise is ultimately gonna influence evil politicians to create something this horrific?
Well, look at fucking Project 2025. The only thing missing from that is, and for one day you can do whatever you want for 12 hours. Like, literally, that's
Right.
the only thing missing, is like you can commit any crime you want. And that's the only problem I have with the Purge franchise in general. Like, you can commit any crime, and I'm like, why? Because now it's like sexual assault. Is that necessary? If you're gonna kill somebody, kill somebody. You don't need to, like, you know, ruin their being right before they die.
The rest of us fine people are just like jaywalking and giggling.
Yeah, I mean, because eventually it's going to become legal. Like, people kept getting hit by so many cars here in LA, including an actor from American Horror Story Freak Show, that they're like, fuck it, jaywalking's fine. Whatever. Like,
I did an internet show one time, and we did a sketch, and it was called The Purge Misdemeanors. And it was just, it was funny because we did it before this movie came out. One of the bits was stealing a candy bar. That was it. And this movie has the whole thing about stealing a candy bar.
yeah. And what's funny about the Purge 2 is their little Easter eggs, because the candy bar, I can't remember what the candy bar was a reference to. But like the character that Ethan Hawke plays in the first one, because he owns a security company. So when they do that pan and you see that security cam, that's the name on it. So they try to tie everything together in that way. But I found the Easter eggs for this movie to be pretty interesting as well. But I hadn't seen it in so long that when I saw it was on Max, and I was like, I got to watch this again. And it wasn't, it's hard to describe, because I really liked all the characters, even the fucking, I want my fucking candy bar.
Oh, I love those are the best.
Those girls,
scary characters in the
girls
thing.
were hilarious. And the way that production, because this is the first time we're outside, because if you look at the Purge 1 and 2, everybody's pretty much inside, but now we're all over the city. We're outside. And so the way that production did with like the car, I would have never thought of that in a million years, like covering a car in Christmas lights.
Yeah.
And driving down and doing the ghost walk with your car to Miley Cyrus. I mean, that's
wonderfully unnerving.
Fucking brilliant. Yeah.
But I got to tell you, I'm the girl in the background, the one with who can't get her fucking buzzsaw going. I'm like, that would be me in the Purge. I'd be like, wait, girls, I can't turn on my machine. I want to kill so badly.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, and
this for me.
Also with the actors, like Betty Gabriel, to my dying day, I will say that she was absolutely robbed for not getting nominated for Get Out.
I'm with you.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Yeah, her, like, above everyone else. I'm like, why is she not nominated? It was kind of like when Black Klansman nominated Adam Driver. No shade, but it's like a movie about a black guy. I get it. Adam, the white guy was a big part of it, but it's like, just the white guy got nominated? Like, what the fuck?
I don't
understand stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't also think any of that matters. It's easier to ignore the awards. Jeff Lewis says this movie is like the Warriors turned up to 100. I can go with that. It's getting across town with all this gunplay. Crix, take us through what happens in the movie. So, like, when I started the movie, I totally forgot it started with, like, there's a lot of shit before you see the opening title.
Sorry if you heard that. That was a massive
That's all right.
body burp that just went
it's
there.
Okay. We're talking about the Purge. So there you go.
purging. Yeah, so the Purge starts with one of the weirdest openings ever, because it almost had, and Guardians of the Galaxy hadn't even come out yet, but it has this opening and it's like funk music, and you're like, yeah, a little bit, but then you're like, no, because it's gonna be bad. And so this guy is like, what's the last song you want to hear on earth? And they're like, and one of the parents was like, you get to decide who lives. And it's a mother, father, son, daughter. So the daughter lives, and then we fast forward, and it's actually Senator Charlie Roan, which oddly is a blonde woman, like Hillary. But she is running for president against this fuckstick from the UFA, which is the United Founding Fathers Association, I think it's called. And her bodyguard is Frank Grillo, who is also.
I thought this was really. Sorry to interrupt. Really, like, this is one of the first images you see in the movie. Can you ask for anything more prophetic?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is 4 years before that happened. It's interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah. So she's running for president, and she's saying the first thing she's going to do is get rid of the Purge. And so, of course,
is this the guy who she's running against?
No, that is the wrong kid. Died. He's more of the Raymond Barry from
Ray J. Barry. Yeah.
Yeah, and
is this the guy who she's running against?
That's him. That's Kyle Secor. He's a Canadian actor that's done stuff over here.
He was on Homicide.
The show
Homicide.
I
love that
Canadian show. TV shows. But this guy is he's everything that our dude isn't. He's way more charming. He's good looking. He speaks for people. He's religious. He's everything that would look perfect in a person if they didn't want to kill people so badly.
Right.
So Charlie Roan, so she's running, and they hate her. And so what they decide to do is kind of do a little backroom deal to make, because in the Purge, government officials, like first responders, they're hands off. But they will not, like, and the police are hands off too, but the police aren't going to be on duty, so it doesn't make any difference. So what they decided to do was, like, all bets are off for anybody. You can kill anybody you want. You can kill the president if you can get to him. So, and that's really where we start to see trouble. And her house is actually the house that they used for House of Cards. So I thought that was kind of interesting too. I'm a big trivia nut. A huge trivia nut when it comes to these films.
I didn't really, I couldn't get through 2 episodes of that show, but that was popular. Did you watch that, Dana? The House of Cards
episode.
Yeah.
I did until the Kevin Spacey problematic shit started, and they're like, okay, we're gonna switch to Robin Wright, and I was just like, I'm done. I can't.
For me, like, it was 2 episodes for me, and the problematic element was also Kevin Spacey, but it was his accent work. It wasn't. I didn't know he was a rapist or whatever.
You're like the real crime.
The original British version, much better, and everything's the same, just about, except for the politics are British instead of us.
So, like, this guy's, hugely important in
Frank Grillo. He was in the second one too.
Right, and he was supposed to. He quickly explains at one point when they're having water together, him and the senator, that he was out for revenge on the last Purge night, and he realized all the damage he could have created. What's up, Kitty?
That is my daughter's cat, Dewey.
Hello, hi, Dewey.
He gets to do whatever he wants. He doesn't have a brain, but we love him. I would also like to point out with Frank, it kind of puts the second movie, it puts anarchy in the timeline, because he said, like, 4 years ago, I tried to kill the guy that killed my son. And
then wound up saving all these people instead. Yeah.
And by the way, his werewolf movie sucked, so I was happy to see him back in his element, even though this movie's 8 years old.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Well,
love
yeah,
Purge.
but it's unfortunately not worse than Wolfman.
It's on my list. I'll giggle my way through it.
Yeah.
But most people they don't. The only way they really know Frank Grillo is, I mean, sadly, is the Marvel franchise. But if you're going to start with movies with Frank Grillo in them, Marvel franchise. For sure, especially in the Captain America, where they have that big old fight in the elevator. Like, that's part of his doing, and I appreciate the fact that they're letting, not that they're letting, but allowing stunt people who are also actors to have acting moments. And people don't. It's like with comedians. Some of the weirdest comedians are the best actors.
Sure.
They make the best, like Dennis Leary. There's so many of them that I admire because they were comedians, and then they decided, hey, I want to be an actor, and then like serious. I'm like, wow, he's serious. Like I was expecting like another version of asshole, and I didn't get it. I got like a serious actor, and with
I
Frank
have
Grillo,
a lot of friends and acquaintances who don't like Frank Grillo. They're like, I can't stand Grillo, and I'm like, why?
What did Frank Grillo ever do to you? And by the way, he's an MMA fighter, so
yeah, exactly.
Don't ever tell him.
Well, and also like as in the, I guess in the pantheon of stunt guys or muscle building guys turn actors, Grillo's probably in the top 10%. He's always serviceable as an actor. Cop Shop is one of my favorite B movies of the last 10 years. Easy. Did you see that?
Like a while ago.
It's really good. Watch it again. It's really good. Who's this guy?
That is Michael T. Williamson. Are you talking about the character or the actor?
Both.
That's Bubba Gump.
Yeah, it's Bubba Gump, and he runs the
he runs the
bodega,
like the little bodega. Yeah, and so this is where it kind of hit me with the California wildfires, was that when he was like, what do you mean you're raising my rates the day before? And I remember hearing from people and like were saying they canceled my insurance last month.
Right.
Like, I haven't had insurance like James Woods, but still his house, he was like, yo, they canceled my insurance last month and I don't have any insurance on the house. And I was like, that I hate you, but that's horrible. That's really fucking horrible.
Yeah, it also wasn't last month. It was months before. I
have a lot of friends in the
I don't know what. Yeah, James Woods was not aggressively trying to get reinsured. It's important to note
his house lived. The whole story turned out to be false.
Yeah, and then his house lived, and I was like, "You're an asshole." Now I hope your host will work down.
I ran on the news and cried for you, and I was wrong.
Yeah, you lied. Yeah, it's fun about how Nazis are. So there's this guy. What's this character's name?
Oh my God, I can't remember. And I'm looking at
it's Uncle Joe or Charlie's got a very basic name.
He's the right hand man.
That's Mark. That I remember.
Marcos. That's Marcos.
Bubba Shrimp.
Marcos, yeah. Marcos works at the bodega, and he grew up in Juarez. And
so he knows how to kill people.
This is the first movie that was not set in LA. This is the first one that was shot in DC. So he so he's just like, yeah, I'm here, and I just like love this guy because this guy's like my mentor, and he's just there, and he's behind Joe.
He's the nicest.
He's
the nicest, most loyal guy ever. And then this lady stops in, who we mentioned before.
Betty Gabriel. That's Lainey Rucker.
Woo!
And she's sort of an angelic figure in this, but also a badass. I like
total
her
badass.
I don't know what her backstory. Apparently, she had a really good backstory because those two girls were like, "Oh, we've heard of you. You're badass," but we never hear what happened. So I'm guessing she survived the purge all by herself with like a toothpick.
Yeah, I feel like it's sort of like it's sort of like
legendary.
It's like a Snake Plissken thing. It's like, I heard you were dead. Yeah, I get that a lot, sort of thing.
She's
That's
a
what she is.
legendary killer. And,
Everybody knows she's a badass. We don't know quite why, but that seems to be enough. And
I
then
mean, they heavily imply that that Joe showed her the light, and now she wants to help people instead of kill people.
right. She's a Cleopatra type figure. And then these two stop in the bodega.
They'll never get candy bars ever.
Kimmy. That's one of the pups' names is Kimmy.
Yeah,
Kimmy.
Kimmy. And what is their whole thing is a candy bar. Well, it's mostly her. The one on the left doesn't do much except like pose.
The one on the left is the one who I think her fucking chainsaw stopped working.
That's my girl. No, I think she's the one with the golden
Yeah, she's the
gun.
freak bride when they come back
Is
on
she?
Purge night. Yeah, she's freak bride. That's what they call her.
Oh yeah, so the candy bar. Going back to the candy bar, I found it. It's because the candy bar is called the Apollo Candy Bar, and that is a nod to Lost, apparently, because Ray Berry and Elizabeth Mitchell were both in Lost.
Oh, okay.
Show I never saw.
I
God bless you. I wish I was you.
Dude, I watch like 4 or 5 horror films a week. I have no time for shows.
Yeah, well, I get you.
Yeah, and then also we should mention that if you watch The Bear,
yeah,
I want to make sure I
the show The Bear.
Yeah, Liza Colon Zayas, who is David Zayas's wife, but first and foremost, she's an actor herself, and she's on The Bear. She won an Emmy. She plays the mecha ambulance with Lainey.
Oh, okay.
She's really not featured.
Not a lot, but it's just like enough to be like, hey.
Really in it.
She has a meaningful death, but
it's good. It's good.
Like I knew that actor, you probably wouldn't.
There are no small parts, only
small
actors, ladies and gentlemen. So that's the scene where he finds out that his insurance has been screwed. He's like, I'm going to watch after the bodega on my own. And then we see her go off in her
Warbulance, yeah.
Warbulance. Yeah.
So this whole thing was going to go tits up at any rate, because when they decided to, in the film, when they decided everybody's up for game, that 2 people in her own team basically fucked her over, and so
I mean, you're talking about the politician at this point.
Yeah, the UFA got not to be confused with UFA, which is the Football Association. UFA decided to hire a whole bunch of white power dudes, because why not? You know, they're probably the most heavily armed we'll ever see. So
Nazi's a Nazi. I like the one that has the same tattoo as Pete Heggs.
So that's why we go from the house to the street, and then of course it's just the street is just the street. But I don't know why I liked the deaths so much in this, but I think it was because it showed a general state of decay of what would happen to people. Like, this guy was just standing there and he gets an arrow to the head, and I'm like, all right,
he was weird. Fuck that guy.
Yeah,
he was being a jerk and acting like a creep, and then he got shot in the head. So you're sort of like, oh well.
If I was that good with an arrow, I'd be that person.
There was the and then there was the car with the 3 people tied to the
hood,
swerving around, and it's like this.
And he's what's that thing
happen.
He's tossing, that medieval thing with the ball with the spikes?
Oh, the mace.
Yeah, he's like throwing that around.
Or the one with the fucking, who has time to build a full-blown working guillotine in an alley like that?
They spend all year planning.
Yeah, the Purge cosplayers have got shit to do.
Roll it out of the garage. My other favorite.
And we talk about the dude dressed as an alien by the guillotine. I'm like, are we not going to go like full French Revolution garb if you got the guillotine? I'm like, no, it's an alien.
Well, the
Yeah.
other one that I fully enjoyed was when Charlie and was it Ray, Frank Grillo, when they're walking down the alley and they hear that click and they back up enough and that big giant blade comes
Oh,
down and
yeah.
you hear, oh.
Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet, but I do. Here's a still from what you're talking about.
Yeah, and on the upper right side, there's a balcony full of dudes. You don't see them, but when they trip the thing and it goes down and it misses them, you just hear, oh. If you can do it, you can do it. And they're like, fair purge, and it's like, and that shouldn't.
I do
funny,
remember
but it
one of them
was.
yelling "Good luck" as they're running down the alley. Good luck out there.
From what I've read, there are 16 bodies in front of the Lincoln Memorial because he was the 16th president, and I think that's adorable.
that is. Why not?
And then you get the. I think the first time we see in that purge moment is in this movie is regret, like the woman who shot her husband, and she's like, I.
Oh yeah,
she's
because
And-
it didn't make her feel better. She's like,
I
had bought
don't-
into, as if she had bought into a politician saying they were going to lower the price of eggs on day one, and then when she voted for him and killed her husband because that's what he said you had to do to lower the price of eggs, then the eggs weren't cheap.
Yeah,
It's
it doesn't
like-
make. Well, and
It's upset. It's upsetting.
Yeah, we're for this. Yeah, we're for deportation. Yeah, and then 76% of produce workers don't show up for their jobs. It's like, how's that working for you? Like
Yeah,
Latinos for Trump. The first thing he did was like, we're going to deport everybody. How is that working for you? And
yeah,
it's like, with Trump, I see like it's not so much Greg Stilson anymore. It's this fucking guy from the Purge election year. Because I've said like I'm like he's Greg Stilson. But have you noticed he's come out thinner? He's not as orange as he used to be. His hair is a little bit more in control. And I'm like, this is not good. Because
he's not doing it
around
himself.
in a diaper smelling like garbage.
yeah, and and it's just.
And Melania still won't touch him.
I know, air kiss. And then
So
you've got
these
I
two,
like when she shakes him off when he tries to hold her hand. It's my favorite thing she does.
The Purge election year could just be called Heil Hitler because that's basically what
that seems like
we're
fair.
looking
So at this point in the narrative, we've seen this guy get hit. We have two things going on. The politicians are under siege or about to be under siege, and so is the bodega. So the bodega has the girls come by, right?
Yeah. I love their costumes. They're just, I don't know. I just loved everything about these guys except for, they're bastards, but.
Well, they're terrible, but you have to appreciate the art direction, the costuming, everything that went.
Well,
into
even
it.
They're so
afro.
exposed. I would want to.
Yeah, her
Yes.
afro puffs are not. There's not a hair out of place in those afro puffs, even though she just killed her parents.
You think they're too exposed, Dana? Is that what you're saying?
I do. Like if I was out purging, and I'm not saying I'm going purging, but I'd have some tactical gear. They're like, no, this bodice.
You wouldn't. You're not sexy purging. You're purging to purge. But they're sexy.
I would do it right. That's all I'm saying.
There's
But
a lot of.
I see why
But
she
they're
killed her
also
parents. They
in
didn't
high
raise her
school.
well. Look how she's
Yeah.
dressed.
But they're also in high school, so this is like it's like
They don't-
girls
they
at
don't.
Halloween. They dress slutty on Halloween because they can get away with it. And then on the other side of the coin, you have the Europeans who fly over just to participate in the purge, and they're all dressed in Americana gear.
Murder tourists.
Uncle Sam and
Purge
fucking-
tourism. It's a huge
Yeah.
problem.
Uncle Sam and the Statue of Liberty, and they're like, "Yo, we come to kill," and I'm like, "Oh my god," because I could totally see that happening. Like, if you can't kill in your own country, plus you're a boon to the economy.
So we're dealing with these two. They get shot. Our main girl gets shot in the ear
Because Marcos is a badass.
because Marcos is a badass. and they run away, but they say they're going to come back. And after that happens, or while this is one of those movies where it's like, meanwhile, it's like a comic book. So these things are happening, I think, simultaneously. But we're showing them in
all I'm
different
saying
times.
is if she was wearing a helmet, she'd be okay.
Leo.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So while
It's better. The first movie, situationally, people are walking in and out of rooms or from nowhere, which made me crazy. If you rewatch it, pay attention to how little sense anyone who comes in a room makes. You're like, oh, daughter, oh, son,
what?
all right, that guy.
Oh yeah, plus the dead body removal.
Yeah, these kids
Purge
so
removal.
much better as they go along.
That
Purge
was like Holy
sanitation.
Grail. That was
Yeah.
like bringing out
Dead
the
yet.
dead. Yeah.
Only mostly dead.
I'm not. I think these Purge movies have a sense of humor, you guys.
Oh no, they do absolutely, because you have to. If you sit through a whole movie like this, like even in Carrie, there were moments of haha, because if you sit through an entire movie where it's just like, holy God,
super
and you
serious.
get nothing to break that up, it's
then you have Alex Garland's Civil War.
Yeah, then
which is not as good as the Forever Purge, if you ask me. But so anyway, these two are holed up. They share water together, and they're waiting. But then there's a breach because there's inside men, right? And this guy shows up. This is the Nazi you guys were talking.
Yeah, that's the tattoo that Pete has.
Right on his head.
Saying.
And then he's got Nazi like patches. And then if that's not enough, if Nazism is not enough, he's also got a Confederate flag on his uniform. So it's like,
and the patch that says white power on the back of his
right. Like that's a redundant.
We get it. You're a Nazi.
Yeah, you're a white supremacist.
Oh my God, dude.
You don't also
know, but remember the days where that's all you needed to be like, bad guys should die great death, you know, like when Nazis were bad and we just melted their faces and did marvelous things and worked out their teeth, you know, because Nazis were bad.
They used to be louder.
Nazis are still bad. Nazis are always bad. It was just but this also made me think about what we're living in current times, where it's just like, you know, the fucking Proud Boys and all those other assholes that got pardoned. Fuck you, Jay Johnston.
And how many of them have already committed crimes they're wanted for after being pardoned?
Well, I just love how everybody comes at especially because this felt like the Purge almost, these wildfires. It still boggles my mind to look at. And, you know, and they're like, looters, black people, Mexicans. Oh, yeah, well, the ones that I've seen arrested on TV have all been white. So you can take that and shove it. And as a matter of fact, when people are coming from other states to try to loot, that's a special kind of meth head, because that couple that came with the fire truck were from Oregon.
I'm not convinced they didn't set the fire.
I'm not either. I just think it's real fucking timely.
And they just wanted to see the damage they did.
Conspiracy critics. And then here comes Trump with and we're like, dude, we fucking hate you. Why are you
lost it in the sky?
You know,
speaking of fire, one of my first favorite moments of action in this movie is when these two are getting away. In this shot, she's getting put into a secret hatch that only Frank Grillo knew about, because he's that good. He's that good. And this guy's trying to kill him. And they have all these inside men. There's one, I wish I gotten a photo of him, but that one nerdy actor who's in so many things. Who's like one of the guys on her, you know, I don't know what.
The older guy that sells her out.
Yeah, with the glasses, and then there's the younger guy who sells her out, and he is on the computer when Frank Grillo from the alleyway after they've been shot at, like sends a thing, and he gets blown up, like right in his face. So they get rid of all those characters, like boom, right away. But then there's still whoever paid for this guy who's not them.
That would
he's got a helicopter.
That would be the youthful.
Yeah, he does have a helicopter. And while that's happening, then those ladies show back up to the candy bar. I'm talking about the Freak Bride, and what's the other?
A buzzsaw girl.
Yeah.
Buzzsaw.
So like those two chicks show back up to get revenge again.
Having knocked over a Home Depot.
Yeah. And
Still no candy.
yeah. And Frank Grillo and the senator are out on the street being attacked by those purge tourists you were talking about. Right?
Yeah, because they were fighting, and then all of a sudden, Dickhead comes behind with and his friend come behind with two stun guns, and stun him in the middle of the street. And luckily, Marcos was watching.
Right. I think, yeah, this is a still from that. You can see her getting strangled. There's Uncle Sam's arm. There's Uncle Sam. But I just love the idea of purge tourism. Like this is a thing that happens, and there foreigners taking advantage of it. We get to murder for free because is that a statement about immigration?
The statement about the economy. Like, we're cool if you want to come and kill people, but like have money.
I'd love to see like the ad campaign in other countries for like the come and kill on purge night.
They probably do it like the
They're like travel agents who specialize in that for foreign countries to come.
You would offer it as like they do in Japan with the island of foxes or the island of deer. It's like you can go to Canada to Banff. I wouldn't pet them, but if you go to Banff, there's elk running free everywhere. Like I've seen it.
That's true.
But it's like marketing it like that, and then it's like, but you get to kill people. It's like those farms in Texas where you can go if you want to go deer hunting. It's basically a whole big. I hate to use the word preserve, but you can you pay to go kill a deer on their land
that are raised to not run from guns.
Right. So that's probably how it'd be marketed, and that would be perfect for rednecks. Because there's a redneck in every country. Like, redneck is not just primarily American. It's every country. Every country has rednecks and they're gonna and if and they're rich most of the time because they're like, what do we do? I'm so bored. Oh, let's go kill some people. Yeah.
They're everywhere.
This
country is full of them for sure.
The guys they weren't German, they were Afrikaans. So I thought that made a statement too. Like, we're from South Africa. We're here to kill things. And, it's like, I'm sure they wanted to say something other than things. But yeah, it's like you get the.
Let me get us back into the narrative here. So this is happening. Bubba Shrimp comes in and shoots everybody.
Yay.
Uncle Joe.
Luckily, and then they're holed up in the bodega, but then these chicks show up outside the bodega, and they're like, "Fuck, what are we gonna do?" Frank Grillo is really mad because the senator never does what he says, which is to be safe. She's always making friends and trying to relate to the working class. And he's like, stop doing that. It's going to get you killed. So here we are.
They came with a backup because they came with a furry and the girl who can't work her buzz shot because they weren't in the original one.
No, they weren't. So they're sawing down the doors, which they're dancing and celebrating. We're sawing.
Oh, it's like
And then so Grillo's ready to die. But then, out of nowhere, our friend with the ambulance runs over these crazy candy bar bitches, run them down.
That was
no good. Love it so much. Oh, and the boots go flying, and
there's one shot of her of the candy bar girl like just hitting the top of a windshield and bouncing off the hood of a car, which is so good. I don't know. It looks very practical. Have no idea if it was a stunt person or just a dummy, but it looks great. 100% behind it.
And
then
and
they
that's the
blow
other
the
thing
face
that
off.
I appreciate about Purge is that yes, we know that they do, like, children do die, but we never see it. Teenagers are the closest we're ever going to come. I hope to not
Yeah,
see
I know. Hillary said to me the other night while we were watching this, she's like, I just don't buy that there isn't more raping happening. And I was like, well, I think it is, and it's implied, and we don't need to see it. This doesn't need to be I spit on your grave, which is
Yeah.
sort of part of
See-
what works about it. It's like not full Eli Roth torture porn. It has
This is the
Yeah.
first one where it wasn't implied at all. There's none in this movie. And Anarchy, there's the guy breaks into the apartment who wants to rape the girls and he gets killed. And there's definitely some implication of those white little purgers coming in that Lena's in trouble. But this is the first one where they're like, nope, balls to the walls.
It's just about murder, but I don't think it is. But I think that's part of it is they expect you to take those former assaults on your sensibility into this one. But I'm also glad that it doesn't exist because I'm not like
I don't want to watch that movie.
I don't want to watch death
And
wish
animals.
movies.
I can't stand when animals are killed for no reason.
Damn it. That practical effect where they blow her face off in this scene is awesome.
Yeah.
That I'm okay with.
Yeah.
And then
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, so after that, that's when they like decide they're gonna leave, but Joe's like, I'm not leaving my shop, it's all I got. And we have this other person that we've not talked about at all yet, who was actually in the first three movies, which is Edwin Hodge, who plays Dante Bishop. In the first movie, he's known as Bloody Stranger, and I can't remember what he was, if they named the puppy in that one, but in this one they definitely named him, and it's Dante Bishop. Aldous Hodge. And he's on Roan's side, but he's taking a different tact. These activists, they actually just want to kill. They want to assassinate the UFA presidential candidate, which is the Kyle Secor character.
And that's involved with when they run into the Crips, right?
Right. Yeah, and they run into him, and that's
so. I mean, it's just important to know. I'll get us to that. That's important, but that we get through a lot of stuff before we get to the Crips. But yeah, they get shot by the helicopter. The Nazis in a helicopter. He shoots at them. They run under the city in tunnels, and in doing so, they run into the Crips. Right? That's what happens.
Yes, that is correct. And then,
and we learned that if you whistle at a Crip, they're best friend.
Yeah, you whistle at their Crip, and it's Bubba Shrimp who whistles at the Crip.
Baby too. Sorry.
Yeah, keep going. Come here.
Bring the baby.
Where's the baby?
I don't know. He's being very.
Show me the baby.
Look at you!
Hey.
Oh my gosh!
And he has his little A24 collar.
Oh,
he looks so
that's amazing.
Offended right now. Okay, I got you.
So, oh right. So after all that mayhem, they wind up in. I remember this part of the movie being like, "Oh, now we're just hanging out in a warehouse and everybody's relating." Okay, and then she discovers their plot, right?
Yeah,
the Crips plot. The Crips who saved them also have a plot to kill Kyle Secor.
Yeah, because they have the tunnels and the old tunnel that goes underneath the church, I guess, was reopened. It hadn't been opened for a very long time, and they figured out how to open it. This part always reminds me of Archer, the cartoon, when they're at Cheryl Tunt's mansion, and she's like, yeah, Grandpa had all these tunnels hidden in because he liked to sneak up on the colored maids, and Grandpa, that's kind of what that reminded me of. And it wouldn't surprise me if that wasn't true, that they, these underground tunnels and stuff were built for maybe not a very nefarious purpose. And
parts of this bring me back, like make
it's all about alcohol.
It's
you're probably very right. Actually,
makes me nostalgic for V, the miniseries, because they
the
had
original,
to hide yeah,
Robert Englund. But the funny thing about Leo, Frank Grillo, is that this character, I mean, I get it. He's her bodyguard, but at the same time, it's just like when he called Uncle Joe Deli Joe or whatever, Deli Larry or whatever the fuck he called him, and he's like, and I guess that's where I love the laughs, is because Michael T. Williamson is such a, he obviously had problems after Forrest Gump because everybody thought that lip thing was real, so he was getting not casted and shit. And so it was, but anything that he's in, he picks up whatever the other actor is laying down and just goes for it. And so the whole like back and forth between those two are really good. And that's where a lot of the, what is it, levity or brevity? I can never tell the difference, is where the ha-has usually come from just these little moments where the actors, or not the actors, but the characters realize we cannot be on 100 this whole fucking time. We have to like calm down a little bit, or it's never, or we're all just going to die. And what I mean,
there's a lot of soulful glances between them where you think, if you wanted to throw in a sex scene now, it would be apropos.
I would have been so mad. The one with Elizabeth Mitchell. Yeah. If Leo and Charlie had made out or fallen in love, this movie would not be on my list, because I don't hate those scenes, but it's like, we're in a lot of trouble. We should make out.
No, this is guarding Tess.
Look at it.
This is guarding Tess. It's
like,
not. It's not a romance. It's not bodyguard.
Guarding Tess was so good. I still love that movie.
So she gets taken. She gets taken to the church the aforementioned church, by the Nazi guy, for a ceremony, a purge ceremony that the founding fathers are having. Correct? Am I getting that wrong?
Yeah, they do their own version of the purge, which is they will catch somebody and then say, this is blah 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 blah, and then one person will purge for all of them. So the whole thing. So they had with Charlie, they also had a guy who was a drug addict, and so they're like, we're gonna, this is da 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 da, and so the guy who's purging is this guy who's the right hand man, Slender Man. And so they purge this guy, and then she's going to be next. But because they don't get their hands dirty. You see what I mean?
Before they get into this magic with the purging of the guests and the senator, there is this great monologue by Kyle Secor.
Yeah, Kyle Secor.
Addressing the purge congregation. I have a clip of it, and I think I'm going to just play it. Here you go.
It's been a long journey to get away from the lies and self-deception to this place of knowledge and awareness to who we really are. People of flesh, immensely flawed. Oh, it's hard to see the ugly truth, but change can only come from acceptance, and change we must. It is our godly duty to rid ourselves of the fury and the hatred that poisons our souls, makes us sick, makes us ugly. Tonight, we, the leaders of this great country, will sin, scour, sanitize, and sterilize our souls until we are free again. And this country will be better for it. We are not hypocrites. We practice what we preach. Purge and purify. Say it with me. Purge and purify. 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 And purify. Let us begin.
That's exactly that speech. There you go.
Yeah, and it's funny how Hill is like the way she's sitting. That's how all the women in the movie are like, yes, purge and purify. Like, and you notice that, and so when they come for Senator Roan, they're like, gentlemen, please stand. They don't even let one of their own females participate in when it comes to purging Charlie Roan. It's all the men, because why? Founding fathers. And it's just another
Right.
It's this another thing, like with women for that dude. Like, I don't get it. Why are you women for that dude? That dude's not for you. You're and founding fathers are almost like Handmaid's Tale, but they want to kill people.
Well, and what I love about this movie too, and this is, probably a shitty element of it, like it goes on too long. But what I love about it is this is not the climax. It's not over.
Yeah.
They shoot up the church. They
This historic church, I got to tell you, that hurt a little bit, because I was like, did the church need to be destroyed? Could we not have better aim?
Well, I don't know. The church is part of the
I feel like when
problem,
it comes to a church like that, Black people, like anybody who's not white, is not welcome in that church. I'm
this
sure you
church
gotta have
is
an E-code to get in there.
It's a bad church, so I don't know. But
I
also
love this shot.
they get the leader of the Crip assassin squad has him in his sights, and he's talked out of it by the senator, and he doesn't kill Kyle Secor.
For a very good reason, though. I mean, that's why, when all that stuff happened with that dude, and I'm like, don't make this guy, like, it does no good for him to be dead, because it just makes him a martyr. And that's what he says in the movie as well. But it's even with that dude, it was like, you're just going to make him a bigger, it's like Star Wars. I'll be more powerful in death than I ever was in life.
He has the worst choice ever. Like his whole mission is killing this guy. And he has to choose whether or not he kills him and wipes out this problem, or he lets a white politician do it for him. It's a hard choice.
Or having a white person telling him what to do, and it's just like,
it's a hard choice. But
unfortunately, it's exactly what they did in Anarchy, where he finally faces the big bad, his obsession, and also makes the same choice, the choice of not killing the guy who ran over his kid.
Well, at its core, at its core, that's what these things are about. Is if you have, it's the first one like is living off of your wishes, your personal wishes. What would you do? And like, would you? And it's the part of the reason it's so on the nose right now is I think everybody who's not a Nazi in America goes through this. I'm 100% like, I love a vigilante movie. I'm all for people getting revenge in the movies. But when you're presented with it as a choice, like personally, do you get revenge, or do you not murder because murdering is wrong? Like, it's like gray area. And it's so gray now with our current American politic that it's just bizarre. So you would think that this whole thing, after the shooting of the church, would be the end of this movie. But part of what I love about this movie is it keeps going. I felt like Kyle Secor has been taken out. He's been going to be publicly humiliated. It's over. But then still Frank Grillo has to fight the Nazi.
Well, then also you have that when they escape to the back room where Kyle Secor, where there is a whole crew of people. So the drug addict was not the first purge. Was the first purge of the night. And then I don't know why they skipped to Charlie Roan so fast, because they had about 12 people in the back in zip ties. And I'm like, and so that I found that a little weird. It was
they
like,
were cut.
just,
they were cut for
pick
time.
one?
It was just showbiz.
So did you pick one? Did you pick one and then tell everybody else is going to get to go after 12 hours, or are you going to like kill them all?
That's why they need a producer. We're like, that's your finale, assholes.
And this is and in this one there's no bell, so you don't know when the purge is over. But man, and so you're seeing all these people. They could very well still die. But they're getting escaping and all this other stuff. But you're like,
it keeps going because Nazis don't stop. I mean, I think that's an important message about this movie is Nazis don't stop until you stop them. And I don't know that there's a way to stop them outside of this. And while Frank Grillo is killing a Nazi, which is fucking great.
Satisfying.
It's so great. It's a great action sequence. The hand-to-hand fighting is great. This actor, by the way, is phenomenal.
Harry Serpico. He's got the best
Harry
name
Serpico
is the
amazing.
Best name.
Yeah, he's fucking great. And then we get. I mean, part of the reason
I like kill the vampire priest too. I think he's gone by this point.
Oh, Slender Man. Yeah.
Well, he's in here. While this is happening, while Frank Grillo is getting this guy shows up in the room that the senator and our bodega friend
Uncle
are
Joe
in, and he starts going after the senator, and then Bubba Shrimp gets in this fucking the gunfight, the like close, like they're in one small room, and this gunfight I think is great. This is a great gunfight between these two.
Yeah, apparently this is the third time that Michael T. Williamson has died in this manner in a movie, where he gets injured, talks to someone special to him, and then dies. Well, you can't let a dude like this die without getting a couple words in.
And he has the exchange with Frank Grillo where he just says to Frank Grillo, "You got this," and Grillo just looks at him and says, "I got this." And then he dies, and I'm like, "That's it? That's all you got?"
The monologue, God damn it!
That's all you got for. I like on Grillo's part, I was like, they could have written him something else just other than, I got this.
I meant to, and it's funny.
We'll see ya.
That line kind of did make me laugh a little bit, but I think it's because I just finished watching all 4 John Wick movies, which I cannot believe I'm about to say this, but I love them. The fight scene's a little long, but it's like, but when in the second, was it the second one where he's like, "You ready to fight?" and he just goes, "Yeah," and the movie's over, and I'm like, that is like when you can do something like that and just be like, yeah, it is. And with Keanu Reeves, because Keanu Reeves could say anything and I'd be like, but when he just goes,
yeah, he wants to keep the fight going.
Somebody's gonna get fucked up. And with Frank, with it's Frank Grillo and Keanu Reeves, I've always said they are 2 people that you do not want to fuck with in the street. Like, especially after Keanu and all the John Wick movies, like, I would not try to mess with this dude. This is a dude that I would not poke.
I wouldn't mess with him, but if he came after me, I would know what to do to defend
Frank
myself.
Grillo and Ray Park, Darth Maul. Those are guys that I'm just like, pepper spray.
I just kind of want to hug them all. I would diffuse them with my love.
You're so tiny.
Yeah, just hug them. Just hug them. So after this sad moment where he dies unnecessarily in a tacked on scene, he we get this quick wrap up of the senator has won the presidency. Bubba Shrimp's right hand man is rebuilding his bodega. Everything is going great.
Yeah, 'cause he owns it now.
Yes.
By the way, did we see the bodega go down? I thought we shot the candy bar girls outside.
Well, it was damaged, so
it wasn't. They didn't
right,
show it. They left like part of his.
as they were
He
tearing
didn't
into
want to leave, but it was like either the senator or his living. So
Got
he
it.
left his living. So
And you know what's funny about those election results was, you know, I was like, why aren't we living in this Purge world where she won? Because
yes,
she did win. She won, and it was stolen. And that's
well, okay. I'll say this at the very end. If you pay very close attention to the newscasting that's happening at the end, they say there are outbreaks of unsanctioned violence happening after
Yes.
the end
by
of
the
Purge,
founding fathers.
which
Correct.
is
They're losing their power, and we won Texas. If you look at the map,
so
you know what this film
that-
lacked? It lacked a Bernie Sanders that someone shot in the face. That's what it lacked. Continue, carry on. I hold grudges.
anyway, it ends with the tease of the Forever Purge, but then there's a whole other movie before the Forever Purge, which I thought was an interesting way to go with the franchise. But let's wrap this up. Let's get our final thoughts. We'll start with you, Crix. Your final thoughts on why should people watch this movie? Why?
Well, to be honest with you, when I was going into secondary education, you shouldn't movie your students. Like, and I'm sure Hillary agrees. It's like movies are there to help further along the education. It's not just, hey, we're going to learn about this, watch this fucking movie. So a movie like The Purge election year for me, out of all of the films, like this is my favorite of all the franchise. But I did appreciate the TV show until it got canceled and left in a weird little.
I liked it too. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, but we got left on a weird cliffhanger because it got canceled. But with a movie like this, I would definitely include it in like a history class, and with saying, okay, this is fictional, but this is also things that do happen, and sometimes we don't answer questions like, why aren't we rising up like the French did or everybody else did? So it's a good way to see what a revolution looks like, not from the wrong side, but just seeing it from our side, because we don't have a lot of those movies that are like, rise up against so and so, because that's not part of our history. Mm-hmm. So to show, even if it's fictional, to show what could happen, but also show that with another movie that did happen, like All the President's Men or something like that, it would definitely be like a 2 situation thing. But you could also show this for anything really, because this one not only comes down to rich or poor, it also comes down to females versus males. It comes down to gender. It comes down to color. And I think even more so than any of the rest of the films, this one, like, exactly what this is. And I mean, even before fuckhead got into office, you knew what this was. This is like Manson's
and this
wet
was
dream.
Before he got into office the first time.
Yeah, and this was Manson's wet dream. This is what Manson has always said, that this was going to happen, kind of in a way. It was like, but with on both sides. And I'm not worshiping Manson, but I'm just saying that, this has been discussed over and over and over and over and over throughout the decades, but this is the first time that we actually get to see it in a way. Like this movie, and I would actually join it with like the Strawberry Incident, with the riots that happened in Columbia in the 70s. Columbia, the university, not Columbia, the country. But anyway, so yes, I recommend this out. And plus it's kind of the least violent even though there's like 116 deaths in here, it's like you can find the edited version, and so that kids can see without all the other stuff. Not kids, but
I
like
see what you're
teenagers
saying.
can see. It's like the
So you're
Sopranos.
saying this movie is saying something that is strong enough it's worth watching even with kids if you can find a edited version.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
even
like
think you need that, because I find in all of the Purge,
and plus all those
there's
movies are
a lot of
PG-13.
death. The majority is completely off screen, and the majority is like boom, there's no, it's not torture, it's violence, but it's quick and it's essentially painless.
Yeah, and I feel like it should, any movie should, like, even the shitty superhero movies, I've always said that any movie, no matter how bad it is, somebody wanted it made. And with these kind of movies, especially like with the ones that go down in flames, like the Marvels and the DCs and stuff like that, what a film should do is should spark a conversation. And even a bad movie, and they're like, oh, you should have read the comics. That's exactly what these movies should be doing, is telling people, oh, well, there's a book based on this that you might want to read, or to encourage the mind to get in and do their own research. And with the Purge election year, it's the same thing. It's to get in the head, and for younger people, for you, like the 13-14-year-olds that didn't grow up in the 80s like we did, or haven't seen, they're just now starting to see this surge of violence and stuff, and they don't get it, or they don't understand. It's a good movie to ask and answer questions with your kids. Like, for example, I was on a plane the year after 9/11, and I went home, and I was sitting on the plane, and I have a fear of crashing. Flying, no problem. Crashing is the problem. And I was sitting behind a father and son, and he was explaining 9/11 to the son. I can't remember why the son asked the question, but he said, sometimes bad people do bad things. And there's nothing you can do about it then, but there's things that you can do about it after. And that was just one thing. And it doesn't mean it's going to happen all the time. And when hearing the father explain this to the son, I'm thinking, yeah, nobody's going to fucking hijack my plane and like drive us into the ground. Like, I feel safe. I should feel safer now than I did before. And so, and in those ways, that's how you spark a conversation. Does that make sense? Because I feel like
No, it totally makes sense. And that's a part of the reason this movie is good. But I think also part of the reason it's underrated, because I don't think people expect it to spark conversations. I think people look at these movies as horror movies. They're cheap thrills, not to spark conversation. But I agree with you, this movie should. Dana, why should people watch this movie?
I find the entire Purge series to be, first of all, so much better than they should be. Every time I sit down, I'm like, fuck, damn it, that's good. That's well written. There's character development. You're following plot. There's plot to these films. I think they are really, it's good filmmaking through and through. It's good writing. And I do appreciate that the violence is more subdued than you think. Yeah, there's a lot of blood and people's face blew up here and there, but it really isn't about the violence as much as it's about the cause of the violence, the aftermath of the violence, the people behind it. And I find this entire franchise to be compelling, and I keep forgetting it's compelling, and then I'll watch a new one and be like, yep, this one too.
But you haven't seen the first Purge yet.
I really do.
You've not seen the first one?
No, she hasn't seen the first Purge.
I think you'll find it it's very claustrophobic, because like I said,
no. The original Purge I saw.
Purge.
The first Purge that came
first
after
Purge
this.
is the
That
fourth
was the one
Purge.
where they were trying it out in New York or Staten Island or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Okay, that one was really, really good as well.
I'm watching it tonight for sure.
Yeah, you can
I
definitely
forgot it existed, because
The
when I hear
word-
first Purge, I think Ethan Hawke.
the word is segregation. Like that's all I could think of that whole fucking time I watched that movie. I was like, segregation. And people don't, and like horror fans now, they're like, well, I don't want politics in my horror. I'm like, motherfucker, politics is in all horror. Dawn of the Dead is about consumerism. Last House on the Left, like all these films have a political agenda in there somewhere. It's just very well hidden. I mean, like the consumerism thing, I was just like, zombies in a mall, hooray! And
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
segregation, like with Night of the Living Dead, you know, with Tony Todd, and it's just like they see a black man with a gun, they just assume he's, you know,
Correct.
they didn't. They even if they knew he was not a zombie, they would have probably fucking shot him anyway.
Rednecks.
Was how I felt.
That's very true. I agree with you both. I think this is these movies are a little bit more you know,
They're smart,
socially interesting than a lot I'm give them credit for. I'm 100% behind them. And I say again, I love this one. I love them all. The Forever Purge, the last one. And I hear rumors that we're going to get a Forever Purge 2 that Frank Grillo will actually be in. I've heard that. I don't know if it's going to happen.
that would be amazing.
Forever Purge like goes down as one of my all-time favorite movies. I think it's so good, so compelling, terrifying, exciting. It's like an adventure horror action movie, like all wrapped up into one that actually says something, like you guys are saying. I think it takes the whole trajectory of the Purge thesis into a new realm. And it's really too on point. For
Plus, as
anybody.
an actor, you and I as actors, like who doesn't want to get killed in a franchise film or survive a franchise film? Like, I'm like, dude, can I be in your movie? You can totally kill me. I don't care. Cut my face in half. Do whatever you want. But it's like, who doesn't want to be in a franchise film? Like, oh, that's me with my face blown off or whatever. You know? Like every time my mother does background in Hawaii, so every time I see her in a movie, I'm like, there's my mom. And you sometimes you kind of want that for yourself. You're like, oh, there's me. And it's like,
yeah. Who doesn't? Every actor wants to be seen. I do. I would like to be seen more than I am right now. But let's do this. We're gonna wrap the show up with some lightning round segments. The first one's called "Be Bad or Be Best." I'm gonna give you guys a movie, and I'm gonna ask you if it's so bad it's bad and nobody should ever watch it, or it's so bad it's awesome. I'm going with a dystopian future theme because we're doing the Purge election year. Be Bad or Be Best. Patrick Swayze in Steel Dawn. Mad Max ripoff kind of deal with the late great Patrick Swayze. Crix, is it Be Bad or Be Best?
I should say Be Bad, but I really like Patrick Swayze. He was a very nice guy. So I would do Be Best. I mean, I feel like everybody should watch. Like, if you're a fan of someone, you should watch their entire catalog, not just be like, this looks dumb, I'm not watching that. Because then movies like Crawl and you know, Beastmaster don't get.
Well, also, if you're like looking at Patrick Swayze's filmography and going, which one of these are not dumb, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
You're not doing it right.
They're like Next of Kin. I will argue to my dying day.
Oh,
like everybody should see Next of Kin.
It's great. It's great. Steel Dawn has Brian James, who I love.
Oh, Brian with an O.
James, the late great Brian
General James. From is that the general from The Fifth Element?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, Brian James.
So
oh,
good.
Man. He was like every bad guy biker in every 80s.
Oh yeah.
In every 80s show, it was like because he was Brian with an O. That's why.
And he's in Blade Runner. He's the guy with the tortoise and the turtle. That thing. Dana, Be Bad, Be Best.
I gotta throw mad love at Patrick Swayze all the time. I have not seen this one or heard of it. I'm putting it immediately on my list.
Oh no.
but I've got like movies like Jim Cotta and stuff in my soul. So once my bottom's
This
so
is Jim
low.
Cotta era stuff.
I can't
I
believe you guys are
know.
bringing up Jim Cotta because John Hodgman had a cartoon called Dicktown. And one of the things was they were looking for the video, Richardsville, but it was called Dicktown. And one of the things was they went to a video store and they were trying to find a VH of Jim Cotta. And they're like, Jim Cotta, gymnastics meets karate, Jim Cotta. And they're like, she's like, dude, that's going to be rented out until the day you die. We never have that copy in the store. And that's why I love her, because Jim Cotta is amazing.
So that's a be best from you there, Dana?
Be best, Bigly.
Be best. Unseen, be best.
Be Bigly.
All right. My next category is when bad films happen to good actors. I've stretched the definition of it to when bad films happen to good people, because I want to hear your take on this. We've mentioned him before. This is a movie that George Romero made. It was the first.
It's a masterpiece. What are you talking about? With
It
4
says
stars.
it says it on the case that it's a masterpiece.
4 stars even.
Yeah,
4
4
stars
stars.
masterpiece. Sorry.
Somebody really wanted
4
that
stars
full quote.
masterpiece. For me, it just feels like this is what happens when an entire industry turns its back on one of its greatest innovators, and he has to make money for his family. So that's my take on Diary of the Dead. But I actually, like Dana, I really wanted to know what you thought of this movie if you've seen it, because you are a producer of great found footage horror movies. This is not one, but like when you saw it, assuming you did, because you must have done your research before the taking of Deborah Logan. So where were you on this one?
Oh my God, we are 1 degree away from each other.
Really?
I interviewed Adam Robitel after the 2001 Maniacs screening years ago. Like, it was him and Jay Gillespie and a few other people. But yeah, Adam, I adore that child. I say child. I adore that.
I know.
child.
I'm so protective of him too, and he's like 40. But
I was so
the mom in me just needed to envelop him. And to this day, it's still.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Finish your question, Todd, for Dana.
Diary of the Dead. Where are you on
Yes, that? Of course. I ran out inside immediately out of obligation. I remember nothing. I remember nothing of Land of the Dead. I remember nothing except for when they were walking underwater, which you also saw in Shockwave. So I've seen, and then the other one where they punched the shark. I think it's just called Zombie, where they suck the shark on. Like, there was nothing original. I throw deep love and appreciation to George Romero, they ran out of ideas. I think Return of the Living Dead tries to shake things up a lot more than the Dawn of the Dead people. They had a weird little split there. So I like the people who'd like lean into the cheese of a zombie film a little more.
Yeah, because I wish that they had. Because I met George when I used to work at Dread Central because of Survival of the Dead, which I was like, this is interesting. Because Survival of the Dead, they were trying to figure out how to biologically train zombies to eat animals instead of humans.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that one was really interesting as far as like the zombie films go. And I think, and Romero at that time,
and it wasn't so
tall.
That one wasn't found footage. It was
no, it wasn't found footage. It would have been interesting if it was, but like even as a straight across, it was great.
Yeah, I mean, Survival of the Dead is better than Diary of the Dead. I think it's also sort of like not what Romero should have been doing at the time, but I don't know. I feel like at this time he was really just trying to generate cash for his for his family.
When I saw him, he was he had to have 2 people like kind of
Yeah, he
guiding
was
him along.
sick.
He was,
Yeah,
and that was the other reason why I was like, I wish he would stop here because this is not helping his health any.
but
know,
he
I would-
was he was like living his life so fucked over by executive producers, and his movies getting like thrown into the public domain before they should have been.
Yeah,
That's why he was like, it's just, I have this, so I'll make something and it'll make money. And he wasn't wrong. It did. It's just, I just wanted more from him. Like, he's one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. So I just like, it's like John Carpenter going out on The Ward is less of a bummer to me than Romero going out on Diary and Survival of the Dead. But I agree, Survival is a better movie. But Diary of the Dead also like was capitalizing on the easy, mockumentary market of the time, and I just like felt like
how
him
everything's
going
shot on a
after,
phone. And
him going after the most obvious low budget market was also not right for him, because he always did well in low budget markets because he did stuff that other people weren't doing in those markets. I don't know. That's just me yapping. I apologize. Thank you for your thoughts. Finally, I'm going to do something positive. I'm going to boost a movie. Another dystopian future movie. I don't know if people remember this. I feel like they don't. And I always go back to it as a great ripoff movie. Like Steel Dawn is probably not this, but Doomsday is this.
didn't we talk about this a while ago?
Probably, but you have to forgive me. I have a head cold, so I might do.
No, I think you mentioned it to
again.
me at one point.
But Doomsday is so much fun. It's by Neil Jordan. Is that his name?
Neil
The
Marshall?
guy who made the Underground Ladies
The
in
Descent?
What's that?
The Descent?
Yes,
Hard-
The Descent. It's
Really?
the same writer director. And
Oh, well,
this,
he's fucking awesome. Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry,
this
keep
is
trying.
Neil Marshall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Neil Marshall. Thank you very much. Neil Jordan is the Crying Game guy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Totally
Neil
different guy.
Blomkamp is hardcore Harry.
Different
District 9.
guy entirely.
The Descent is a perfect film. Go on.
Yeah, The Descent is great. I'm not saying Doomsday is a great movie. I'm just saying it's so much fun if you like this kind of B movie. It's Mad Max meets Escape from New York meets 28 Days Later. It's so much fun. It's got the lady who is in the Underworld prequel. I can never remember her name. She looks like Kate Beckinsale, but she's batter assed because she's, not quite as skinny. But she, if you haven't seen this thing, Doomsday, you guys should.
What year?
Certainly. I don't know. This is already 20 years old now.
What?
Yeah.
2008.
Thank
2008. Okay, not quite 20 years old, but close. But yeah, it's very fun. I highly recommend it if you like this kind of movie. Do you like these kind of movies, Dana? These,
On my heart.
Yep. So yeah, you'll like it. I think you'll like it. If you don't, I would be surprised.
Rona
You'll-
Mitra, by the way.
Rona Mitra, thank you.
She
Love
was
her. In
Lara
do you
Croft.
guys like the Underworld movies?
I do.
Never seen one.
I think that was one of the first times I saw Michael Sheen was
Yeah,
on-
the prequel that
I
she's
love
in.
Michael Sheen.
yeah, he
Yeah,
was in
the prequel is the best one of the whole group. But I enjoy them because normally they came out in January, so it would be my birthday movie. And I was like, well, this is pretty good for, January. And so, yeah, I recommend it. But Doomsday is
Excuse me.
fantastic. I highly recommend it. All right, you guys.
I
I've
know
kept
your
you long
birthday's
enough.
passed, but you can make a companion supposed to be amazing, and it opens on Friday.
Oh
what?
yeah, I really want to see that with the Nepo baby, the Quaid. I love
Jack
the Quaid.
from The Boys
He
Jack
has his
Quaid.
own freaking career now.
and
No,
Scream.
I know, but he
There's so
didn't
many
earn it.
nepo babies that go
He
nowhere.
didn't earn it. But like who's the oh, is it Zoe Kravitz directed the Blink Twice? Is that
Yeah.
okay? So I saw that movie and I was like, I don't want to like this. It's made by a Nepo baby. And the thing is, I did. I think it did everything that I wanted the menu to do and didn't. I think it's very fun and well acted.
Grim
And
piece of work.
I recommend that Nepo baby movie. That's all I'm saying.
You know, another Nepo baby I really like is Rob Lowe's kid, Johnny Lowe, because of that show that they do together on Netflix. Like,
Oh
honestly,
yeah,
those kids are fucking
Delightful.
hilarious.
is that good?
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not
really
watching
good.
it. There's too many. I don't know.
It's like, but
Oh,
like
it's
Chris,
funny and it's
Chris
short, and
Traeger
Rob
on
Lowe's
20.
delightful in it.
Yeah, Chris.
Oh,
He's like
God.
Chris Traeger on like 20, and he's a fucking smart as hell biologist.
Rob Lowe and his Nepo baby, and I have
and
to
his
like it.
and his son.
Yes, you have to like it.
The other reason I love it is because his son will go on Instagram and rip his dad for pictures that he posts on there.
He
With-
does.
He fully rips his dad apart. It's really funny.
Okay.
But in
But
delightful ways, like Rob Lowe's taking a picture and he's like, yeah, nice
I
Emmy in the background.
My
How
son.
subtle, Dad.
Like,
You know,
I literally saw you stand there for 5 minutes posing this picture, and he's
Does he reference his past legal troubles?
wow.
I'm sorry. I was just being I just remember those videos from the 80s.
Oh, from the Democratic National Convention.
I'm old. No, it's not that. It's it's entrapment. I don't know what it was. It's just the thing everybody's forgotten about.
Okay, another Nepo baby I want to bring up before we go. Oz Perkins.
Mhm.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of long legs, but I want to see the monkey like nothing else.
Plus,
The
Monkey's
monkey looks
tagline
great.
is everyone dies and that's messed up. So I'm like, day one.
plus,
Not even
Yeah.
waiting for day two for this one, if that's the tag.
Yeah,
It looks like
Oz. It was in Legally Blonde, and I'm like, I'm officially in love with this kid. I don't know who he is,
Oh, he was
but
cute
he's
in
mine
that.
now.
Did you guys like Barbarian?
I love
Yes,
Barbarian.
I saw it.
Okay.
First time I was like,
I
what
love
is this?
Barbarian
The
too.
second time was
And the
great.
monkey looks like it's the closest thing I'll get to a new Barbarian in a long time.
We don't need a new Barbarian. Barbarian was original.
No, I
hated Long
know.
Legs.
I
Hated
just
it
mean
so much.
I don't mean it's the same thing as Barbarian. What I mean is it'll give me the same feeling Barbarian did. Like Monkey looks like it could actually, like, if it's more Barbarian and less Long Legs, I'll be happy. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, it's true, because you get these films that are like, okay, what can we do now to on top of, like, put our shit on top of that shit and make it not look like a total fucking pile of shit. And so
Like a rip off, or
and so you look at guys like Scott Derrickson, who we've talked about before with the Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon.
Delightful.
The guy who played Leslie Vernon was actually a guest on
He
here.
was on our show.
Yeah, he was my
I
acting
have an
coach.
enamel pin with him.
Yeah, he was my acting coach for like 2 years.
That makes me so happy.
He's such a good guy. He's such a
and
good
you have this with, like, a lot of people did not see that movie in particular, Behind the Mask, until I said, this is not Scary Movie. This is not what you think it's going to be. It's not Scary Movie found footage. This is actually like, they made a fucking effort, and you actually buy into it because they also make everything in the horror universe real. Freddy's real, Jason's real. Like, these people exist, and it's not done in a slapstick way. It's done in a way that you're just like, okay, that's funny. Like the one scene that was cut out where he's like, I have to do cardio and this and that. And he's like, do you want to see why we keep up with you guys? And so she's running and he starts walking. And then as soon as she turns around to start running, he fucking hauls ass and gets up about 6 feet behind her. And when she turns around again, he goes back to slow loping. And it's not presented in a comical way, but you're just like, that's funny. And yeah, maybe that is what they do when nobody's looking, is they're track stars. And I wish that people, when they see found footage movies on just the cover alone and go, oh fuck, you know, it's another fucking found footage movie, blah blah blah. I'm like, you need to like open your mind a little bit. And I'm just like, you need to go back and watch this movie called Peeping Tom. You know, even though it's not found footage, it's done from, you know, it's the first film done from the killer's perspective. And then maybe you'll get an understanding of why I don't have problems with found footage movies coming out, because you find,
if you like found
gems.
footage, you gotta watch Cannibal Holocaust. That said, you should get my book Murder Valley on Amazon.
That I accept, but fuck you for Cannibal Holocaust.
Just fucking around.
Cannibal Holocaust and
they
but
murder those animals, and
it is one of the first
that woman. Forget it.
Found footage movies ever made. Anyway, Crixley, thank you so much.
Me and my meth teeth.
Dana Guerin, thank you so much for being on this show. I can't thank you enough. You guys are the greatest.
So nice to meet you finally.
I wish, let's do this again sometime.
You bet.
The Purge, the Forever Purge, maybe? I don't know.
Can we do a bad movie next time?
No. They're all bad eventually. I mean,
well, I take it back. Like Steven Seagal movies, like there's no reason for those movies to exist. Like I shouldn't say I like every movie, and every movie is sacred, like semen, but it's or sperm, sorry, but Steven Seagal.
I understand. I understand. I'm a huge Steven Seagal fan from way back before.
He ruined Kelly LeBrock. I said.
No, he absolutely did. He ruined a lot of things, but his badness is funny on certain levels. But let's get into that later on in my favorite shitty movie history. I love you guys. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week. Tracy's back.
Yay!
And
Tracy.
it's our 200th episode. So I don't know what she's going to want to do. We'll see. Bye.
You should